Imagine waking up, opening your eyes, and suddenly the world is back. The distant sound of traffic, the smell of coffee, the soft light coming through the window. It all feels so effortless, but it's not. Here's the truth. What you call reality might just be an internal simulation created by your own body. No, this isn't the Matrix. This is something far more subtle and way more disturbing. Because according to some of the most influential scientists alive today, consciousness is not a mystical gift or an unsolvable puzzle. It might be a survival trick, an evolutionary consequence of a flesh machine trying to predict the world before it kills us. And the craziest idea? That's exactly what makes you conscious. Maybe everything you feel, every color, every sound, every thought is just an interface built to keep your organism functioning. Nothing more than a prediction system that learned to feel. In this video, you'll discover why you might be a living machine, a beast machine, as neuroscientist Anil Seth calls it, and how that idea could rewrite everything we think we know about being alive. Oh, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube knows this kind of content is worth sharing with more people. Consciousness is the one thing we know for sure exists, because we live inside it every moment. And yet, it's the one phenomenon science still can't fully explain. You can map the brain, trace neural circuits, analyze chemicals. But where in all that electricity and matter is the feeling of being you? That's the mystery we're diving into today. Across history, philosophers and scientists have proposed dozens of theories to answer one simple question. Why do we feel like anything at all? Some say consciousness is an illusion. Others argue it's a fundamental property of the universe, like gravity or T. Some believe it's tied to information, to complexity, or even to quantum physics. And then there's Anil Seth. Seth proposes something radically different, and yet deeply grounded in biology. He says that consciousness is not about thinking or even perceiving. It's about being alive. It's the brain predicting, moment by moment, how to keep your body alive, and using sensory experience as a tool to do it better. This isn't just poetic, it's testable, and it connects ancient philosophical questions to the latest in neuroscience. So here's our guiding question for today. Is consciousness just what it feels like to be a self-regulating living system? What do you think? Does that explanation feel satisfying? Or does it raise even deeper questions? Let us know in the comments. Your thoughts help shape the future of these videos. Let's start with something simple that changes everything. You're not conscious because your brain is smart. You're conscious because your body needs to survive, and your brain has found a brilliant way to make that happen. According to Anil Seth, your brain isn't sitting back, waiting for the world to hit your senses. It's doing the opposite. It's constantly guessing what's out there, and only adjusting those guesses when reality disagrees. Take sight, for example. You don't just open your eyes and see what's around you. Your brain is creating a visual world inside your mind, based on light, yes, but also on memory, expectations, and pure guesswork. In fact, what you're seeing right now, it might be a hallucination. A very stable, very useful one, but still a hallucination. That's not a metaphor. That's literally what Seth calls it. A controlled hallucination. Your brain generates a model of the world and then checks if it matches your senses, not the other way around. Now just imagine this for a second. What if everything you perceive, every color, every sound, every taste, is just your brain's best guess? A story it's telling itself to keep you oriented. Think of two people looking at the same apple. Their brains receive slightly different signals, but both say, it's red It's round, it's an apple. That's not reality. That's synchronized prediction. Shared belief. A hallucination we've all agreed on. And if that sounds strange, hold on. Because it gets deeper. Your brain isn't just predicting what's outside. It's also predicting what's inside. Right now, it's guessing your blood pressure, your body temperature, your oxygen levels, everything you need to stay alive. This is called interoception, the hidden sense of your internal state. And it might be the core of what makes you feel alive. That twist in your stomach before speaking in public? That rush of heat when you're embarrassed? Those aren't abstract emotions floating around. They're your brain's interpretation of your body's signals. So when you feel fear or hunger or love, you're not reacting to reality. You're reacting to your brain's interpretation of what might be happening inside your body. It's a guess, a prediction, a story, and it's that story that makes you feel like you exist. So here's the radical idea. Consciousness, the thing we think of as the highest mystery, might just be your brain doing everything it can to keep you alive. Think about that for a second. You're not a brain floating in a jar, dreaming up ideas. You're a living organism. A self-regulating creature made of cells, organs, blood, flesh, and all of it needs balance, constantly. That need for balance, that pressure to survive, might be the reason you have experiences at all. This is what Anil Seth calls the beast machine. Not a machine like a robot, but a beast, a living thing. One that regulates itself, one that needs to feel, to predict, to experience, because that's how it survives. And the irony is painful. Descartes once said animals are machines, unfeeling, unconscious, just reacting to the world. He called them beast machines. But Seth flips that completely. He says we're conscious because we're beasts, because we feel, because we regulate, because we're machines with needs. Now, let's pause. Imagine a panic attack. No visible threat, no danger around you. But your chest tightens, your heart races, your breath shortens. Your brain senses those changes and says, danger. Not because there is danger, but because your body feels wrong. That's the trick. The fear doesn't cause the symptoms cause the fear. And if your brain gets that wrong, even just a little, you end up afraid of nothing, terrified by your own body. Now let's go deeper. What if we build an AI that talks like a human, responds like a human, even says it feels things? Is that consciousness? According to this theory, no, because unless it has a body, unless it needs to keep that body alive, it has nothing to regulate, no predictions to make, no feelings to interpret. It might mimic consciousness, but it won't feel. It won't be alive, and that leads to something even more profound. Maybe consciousness isn't a glitch, or a bonus, or a divine spark. Maybe it's what happens when life becomes complex enough to predict its own survival. Not every living thing is conscious, but maybe everything conscious is alive. Not just biologically alive, but deeply, energetically, metabolically alive. Struggling against entropy, balancing on the edge of chaos. That's why you don't feel like a brain. You feel like a body. A warm, heavy, vulnerable thing. Because that's what you are. And your brain is just the narrator, the interface, the control system that makes sense of your beast machine. Now think about what that means. If your sense of self is built from predictions, then what happens when those predictions go wrong? What if your brain starts hallucinating things that aren't there, or misinterpreting signals from your body? That's not science fiction. That's what we call mental illness, hallucinations, anxiety, delusions. These aren't random errors. They're your prediction system working too well, filling in gaps, creating experiences that feel real, because that's what your brain is built to do. And the terrifying part? You wouldn't know the difference, because it would still feel like reality, still feel like you, even if it wasn't. Let's go even further. If your brain is a prediction engine, then perception is not something that happens to you. It's something your brain does, every moment, non-stop. It doesn't just react, it anticipates. But that's just the beginning. Because this predictive power isn't limited to your senses, it extends to your thoughts, your identity, your sense of being you, yourself, that feeling of continuity, that voice inside your head. It might just be your brain's most sophisticated prediction model. A hallucination so convincing that it never breaks. You're not in your body. You are your body. But the version of you that you experience is not your body directly. It's the brain's best guess of what a body like yours feels like, from the inside. And this might be why different people experience reality in dramatically different ways. Someone with chronic pain, for example, might have a brain that predicts discomfort, even in the absence of injury. It's not faking it. It's not imagined. It's real inside that person's experience. Because that's what their brain expects, and what the brain expects, it creates. This has massive implications, not just for neuroscience, but for how we treat mental health, chronic illness, and even our understanding of consciousness in others. Think about someone with C. They might hear voices, or see things that no one else does, but in their world, in their predictive model, those experiences are as real as your morning coffee. We usually call these errors, pathologies. But what if they're just side effects of the same mechanism that makes all perception possible? If consciousness is built from hallucination, then mental illness might just be hallucination without consensus, a prediction that doesn't match the shared model. Now imagine something more subtle. Imagine being slightly anxious all the time. Not panicked, just a little on edge. Your heart beats slightly faster. Your breath shortens a little. Your brain interprets those signals. Something's wrong. So you scan your surroundings. You try to find the cause, but there's nothing. No threat, no explanation. So the anxiety grows because your brain still has to explain those internal sensations. That's the trap. And millions of people fall into it daily. Their bodies see, their brains predict danger, and the cycle reinforces itself until anxiety becomes a baseline state of being. But now, with this new understanding, maybe we can see it for what it really is. Not weakness, not irrationality, but the cost of being a self-regulating, self-predicting system. The cost of being conscious. Now let's step back. Anil Seth's theory is powerful because it connects mind and body in a way that's hard to separate. But how does it compare to other theories of consciousness? Let's look. David Chalmers, one of the most influential philosophers of mind, talks about the hard problem of consciousness. He asks, why does any of this feel like anything? Why don't we just process information like robots? For Chalmers, consciousness might be fundamental, like space or time, something built into the fabric of the universe. That's one possibility, but it's also a bit like saying, we don't know. So maybe it's magic. Giulio Tononi offers another view, the integrated information theory. He says consciousness arises from the amount of information a system integrates. The more interconnected, the more conscious. It's elegant, but it doesn't explain why information feels like anything. Daniel Dennett takes a different road. He says consciousness is a kind of illusion, not fake, just misunderstood. He compares it to a magic trick. The experience feels unified, but it's really a bundle of processes happening in parallel. But Seth's approach is different. He doesn't try to explain why experience exists. He tries to explain how it might emerge from the biological need to predict. He sees consciousness not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a process to be understood. It's not about identifying a magic ingredient. It's about understanding the role consciousness plays in the survival of living systems. And that role, according to this theory, is prediction. Imagine a thermostat, SIM. It regulates temperature based on a set point. It senses the air, makes a decision, adjusts the heat, but it doesn't predict. Now imagine your body as a hyper-advanced thermostat, one that doesn't just react. It forecasts, it simulates the future. It guesses what you'll need before you need it. And that guesswork, that simulation, that might be the origin of your conscious experience. Because the more complex the prediction, the more detailed the simulation. And at some point, the simulation becomes vivid, rich, personal. It becomes you. This leads to a haunting question. How do we know when a system becomes conscious? If we build a robot that can predict its own needs, that can simulate its body, anticipate damage, even manage emotions, is that enough? And if not, what is? Is consciousness exclusive to biology, or is it the result of complexity? Can a silicon brain one day dream of electric sheep? Anil Seth would say, "We don't know, but whatever consciousness is, it's not something that floats above the body. It's not separate from the machine. It is the machine, when the machine is alive." Let's make it more personal. Right now, take a breath. Feel your chest rise. Feel your heartbeat. That's not just biology. That's your brain checking its model, confirming predictions, making you feel real. Now imagine if that feedback stopped. Imagine if your brain couldn't sense your body. Would you still feel like you? There are real cases like this. People with rare neurological conditions who lose the ability to feel parts of their body and report feeling detached, ghost-like, unreal. It's as if their sense of self evaporates with the loss of internal feedback. That's not philosophy, that's data, and it reinforces the core idea. Consciousness isn't something that happens in the brain. It's something that happens through the body, and the brain just manages the process. Let's explore one last. If your experience of reality is a controlled hallucination, what about altered states? What about dreaming? When you dream, your brain cuts off external input and runs its simulation unchecked. That's why dreams feel real but weird. Your brain's still predicting, but without correction. And what about psychedelics? They scramble your prediction system. They loosen the grip of prior expectations. They allow the brain to form new connections, to reinterpret the body, the self, the world. That's why some people describe them as consciousness expanding. Not because they reveal truth, but because they reveal the machinery. The predictive system loosens its control, and the hallucination becomes visible. It's not magic, it's exposure. It's the beast machine seeing itself, and maybe that's what we're doing right now. Maybe in trying to understand consciousness, we're not just doing science, we're doing introspection. We're turning the machine inward, examining the ghost in the machine, and realizing the ghost is the machine. And maybe that's the most conscious act of all. If all of this is true, if your consciousness is a self-generated story created by your brain to manage your body, then what happens when we try to recreate it? Not inside a living body, but in code, in silicon. Can we simulate a beast machine? Can artificial intelligence ever feel? Or are we just building better puppets? Mimicking the dance of consciousness without ever touching its essence. Right now, as you listen, AI is learning to talk, to draw, to make decisions. Some systems even simulate emotions. But do they feel them? Or is that just us, projecting our own experiences onto empty patterns? It might be the most important question of our time, because if we get it wrong, if we build something that seems conscious but isn't, What rights should it have? What responsibilities should we have? And if we get it right, what? Maybe that's the next frontier. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.